Hello and welcome to this tutorial in which we're going to get to know the Adobe Premiere CS 5.5 workspace and workflow. So we're looking here at Adobe Premiere, and the first thing I'm going to do is just have a look at the different elements of the workspace. So we'll start at the top left and work our way down. And we've got what's called the project panel here, and this is where we import all of our media, our video clips, our audio files, images, graphics, create titles and text and so on, and they will all show up here, as well as our sequences. On the bottom right here we've got our sequence panel, which is basically where the timeline is, and this is where most of the action happens. So when we import our video clips from the library to the timeline, we will see them here, and our audio clips as well. So we've got video on the top and 3 layers by default, audio on the bottom, again 3 layers, and a master track. And on the far bottom right we've got our tool panel. So we've got things like the pointer tool to drag and drop things, we've got the razor tool to make cuts, we've got the pen, the hand zoom and so on. And then on the top right we have the program window, which is where we can preview what our video is going to look like. And beside that we've got the source panel and also the effects control. So if we're adding any effects to our video or audio files, we can see the effect settings here and control and adjust those. We've also got the audio mixer here so that we can export our audio mixed appropriately for professional presentation. And on the bottom left corner we've got the media browser, the info panel, and the effects panel. So the effects panel is used quite a lot, and from here you can add audio effects, video effects, and audio and video transitions as well. So you can basically reduce the Adobe Premiere workflow down into 3 words, which would be import, edit, and export. So we import our media files into the project panel. We then put them into the sequence or the timeline and edit and mess around with them, add effects and so on. And when we're finished messing around with and creating our cut, we then export the file using Adobe Media Encoder. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at here is we're going to open up a project file, which is basic edits. And we've got here a simple video clip which is about 15 seconds or so. So we'll just play this first and have a look at what we have.
Beautiful scenery, plenty of places to ride, beautiful weather.
Okay, so we've got a very simple file here, and we're going to do a very basic edit on this. So we can see this clip here, B-roll ride by, where the bicycles are in the distance, and it takes quite a long time for them to actually show up. So what we're going to do is scroll forward along the time like this until we get to about here where the action is actually starting to happen. And then if we switch to our razor tool by pressing C for cut, and then we can see the mouse changes into a razor. Click there and it's going to create a cut for us, and we can actually select the first part and press delete to remove it, and then click and drag to bring the first or the remaining B-roll over to the end of the clip. And just at the very end we're going to drag this back by clicking and dragging at the end of the clip so that it matches up with the end of the sequence. So now if we have a look at our clip,
Beautiful scenery, plenty of places to ride, beautiful weather.
There's probably too much dead space at the end of that clip as well, but we can always add more to it if we need to, and actually that's what we'll do right now. So as soon as the cyclists disappear, we can just add another cut, or else just drag our audio or video over there, and then we can just add in a graphic image, which might be something like this. Okay, we'll just resize. Resize the graphic so that it fits into our window. And then click fit again.
Beautiful weather.
Okay, so if we have any media in our project panel, we can just simply drag and drop this from the project panel onto the timeline as I just did. So I drag the graphics. If we have a video clip and we want to drag that in, just select it here and click and drag until you want to drop it into your panel like that. And then you can click and drag left or right to move it around in time. And it's very easy to use in that way. So that's how you add footage to the timeline. Okay, just to mention one or two other things about the interface here. We've got this thing which is the time code over here. And at the moment it's at 000000, which is the beginning of our clip. What these numbers represent are hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. So depending on what frame rate you're using, but let's say we were using, in this case, 24 frames per second. That means that once it reaches 24, it's going to skip to 1 second. So you've got 24 individual frames, or still photographs, or still images, in every second of your video clip. So if this thing that I'm dragging around here is called the playhead, or you could call it the time indicator. The playhead's easy, and you can just click and drag this and scrub it along to preview through your video clips. You can also click it at certain points and it's going to jump there. And you can also just start typing in numbers and it will jump to that point. So if I wanted to go to, say, 11 seconds and 5 frames, I could just type that in and it's going to jump to 11:05. If I typed in, say, 15, 20, it's going to jump to 15th second and the 20th frame in that second. So this is very useful, obviously, if you're working with larger projects that have lots of frames and lots of hundreds of minutes of footage. Okay, you can also click and drag anywhere on this to scrub through. Click and drag left or right, and that's going to give you a preview of your video clip as well. Okay, so now we're going to just open up another file, the interface file, and we'll just open this and find our missing footage, which should be inside the exercise folder. And there we go. Alright, so we've got this video again, edited a little more this time, and it's got the logo at the end and everything as well. So we're just going to have a look in more detail at some of the interface elements in Premiere here. So let's look at some of the panels that we haven't looked at so far. Well, we've got the Resource Central panel, we've got Effect Controls, Audio Mixer, we've got the Metadata panel over here. Down here we have Media Browser, History, Effects, Info, and basically whichever panel you happen to be on will be outlined by this gold outline to let you know that it's selected. So for example, if I want to be working in the sequence or timeline area, click on that and we get this outline around it just to let you know. You can also resize the interface of Premiere just by clicking and dragging any of these lines in between the panels. So it's very dynamic and interactive in that way, and you can just set up the workspace whichever way is most usable for you, for your workflow. And the window, if you're missing any panels, for example, if the effects panel wasn't there for some reason, You can find all of the available panels that you need inside the window drop-down menu up here. So if you want to bring effects back, just click on that and it's going to jump back to its default position. As with all of the Adobe products, you can just click and drag any of those panels and place it somewhere else in your interface. So for example, if I wanted to put the effects panel up here, I could just drag it and add it to that tab. You'll notice when I was clicking and dragging, I get these features here which are kind of unique to Premiere, which allow you to create new panels, or if you want to add a panel below this, you can do so like that. Then you're creating a new panel sequence. Say if I dragged Resource Central underneath this, you can have all three of these on top of each other. Not particularly useful, but and if you for some reason mess around with your panels too much, you can reset them by going up to your workspace drop down menu at the top and clicking reset current workspace. Click yes and it's going to bring you back to the default settings there. Alright, so we're going to open up a new file here again and just have a look at some options. We'll need to just find our exercise files again. Media, video, A-roll, plan A. So I'm actually just going to create a new project just so we can see how that works. So if we go File, New Project, and this is what happens when you open up Premiere for the first time and click on New Project. We're going to see this dialog box. You can leave most of these settings as they are with the default, but just be aware of the two options at the bottom, location and name. So location obviously refers to where you're going to save your files on your hard drive. Very important, so create a folder for that. And name is the name of your project. I'm going to leave these as the default for now and click yes. And this box that pops up now is the new sequence box, and we'll have a look at this in more detail later, but for the moment it's going to open with this sort of DV-PAL widescreen settings, and we can see all of the settings that are going to be opened here on the right side as well. The name of the sequences appears at the bottom. Let's just click OK for now to open up a new project. And here we go, we've got the Premiere interface open. We don't have any media files as of yet. And just to be an important point about media files, if you import a file, which I'm going to do now, File Import, and I'll just go to the exercise files and import a video clip, say Cool Bird. Okay, that's going to import that video clip there. But when you're working with any media files in Premiere, you have to be aware that Premiere doesn't embed any files into the actual program or the project file. All it does is link to the file on your hard drive. So I've now imported Cool Bird, but it's not actually in the project as such. This is linking to coolbird.move on my hard drive. So if I moved that from into a different folder, then Premiere wouldn't know where to find it. So as you've seen, every time I open a new file, I have to tell Premiere where to find the files that it needs. So just to be aware of that, it's only linking to the file in the folder on your hard drive. Okay.